Ai, meu Deus do céu! Vocês estão entendendo o quanto de jacaré tem aqui? Ai, meu Deus. Eu tô na barraca literalmente pra acampar. Vamos dormir aqui, guys? Teu cu.
Camping is supposed to be relaxing, but sometimes nature reminds you who's really in charge. One camper learned this the hard way when he woke in the middle of the night to unsettling noises outside his tent. Peeking through the flap, he found himself surrounded, not by curious wildlife, but by crocodiles. A whole group of them waiting silently in the dark. The realization that only a thin layer of fabric separated him from an ambush by apex predators is enough to put anyone off camping for good. Nature is beautiful, yes, but it's also unpredictable and at times brutally dangerous. Personally, if I had to choose between facing 10 armed men at my tent door or a circle of hungry crocodiles, I'm picking the men every time. This one was uploaded as footage from a doorbell camera in the Colorado mountains. The owner says he got an alert for movement on his deck and watched a tall, upright, Bigfoot-like figure cross the frame. At first glance, it hits a lot of the classic markers: height, posture, and slow, deliberate movement. But when I looked through the comments, people started calling it out as possibly AI generated. The clarity and timing do feel almost too polished for a random doorbell clip. I am leaning toward healthy skepticism, but I want to know what you think. Real sighting, a hoax, or an AI stunt? This next clip starts out like a casual video of two friends rock climbing. Nothing unusual. Until one slip nearly turns it into a disaster. In an instant, one climber loses his footing, but his partner reacts perfectly. The gear catches, his weight shifts, and instead of a fall, the motion slingshots the climber back into place. It's quick, clean, and honestly a little jaw-dropping to watch. Now, I'll admit I don't know much about climbing. I think this technique is called belaying. I could be way off, and I'm sure actual climbers will roast me in the comments. But whatever the term is, it worked. Equipment matters, yes, but so does having a partner who knows what they're doing. At the end of the day, this wasn't just luck. It was training, teamwork, and a reminder that sometimes your climbing buddy is the difference between a scare and a tragedy. This next clip comes from an Alaskan Airlines flight, filmed by a stewardess, and it shows something you almost can't believe. A passenger actually pulls open the plane door mid-flight. Instantly putting everyone on board at risk. Thankfully, the pilot was able to land safely, but you can imagine the panic that spread through the cabin. The man later claimed it was a mistake, though he was arrested the moment he stepped off the plane. If convicted, he could be facing up to 10 years in prison. Now, whether this was a reckless stunt or just sheer stupidity, one thing feels certain. This guy probably shouldn't be allowed to fly again. Okay, what is happening here? Why would something this massive even exist on Earth? You're looking at the shed skin of a snake said to be 21 meters long. That's almost impossible to wrap your head around. Most people watching probably don't live in a place where snakes ever reach this size. But if you do, I need details. Actually, you don't even have to be from one of those countries. If you've got any insight, drop it in the comments. Because right now, this feels unbelievable. Alright, let's dive back into the rest of the video. Wyoming's high country looks like a postcard. Blue sky, sun hitting the ridge. A narrow trail disappears into the distance. Then the photo drops something unexpected into that calm, a huge, broad-shouldered figure, covered in brown hair, walking the path. My first reaction was the same as yours. Big creature, big hands, big presence. Could this be a classic Bigfoot sighting? At face value, the posture and proportions read that way, but I started poking at the details. Who took this? If someone got close enough for a clear shot, you'd expect a story, a name, a time. Instead, the image is being presented as a trail camera capture. That raised a flag for me. Trail cameras are usually tucked off the trail. You do not normally mount one dead center looking straight down a path and get a human-level perspective like this. Sure, it is possible someone hid a camera in the perfect spot or hung it from a tree that lines up with the path. Possible. But when you pair that possibility with the lack of any supporting info, I get skeptical. Not dismissive, just cautious. What's your take? Believe the image and the creature, or file this under needs more proof? This photograph might be the long-lost follow-up to the most famous Bigfoot footage ever filmed. Just 1 year after the legendary Patterson-Gimlin film shook the world, Photographer Thomas Anderson ventured into Northern California's Bluff Creek. Equipped with professional gear, he spent weeks tracking something that seemed to lurk in the dense wilderness. One night, Anderson was stirred by guttural, inhuman sounds echoing through the dark. The next morning, movement in the trees caught his attention. He raised his camera and froze. Through the lens, he captured a massive, dark figure partially obscured by the trees. Moments later, it stepped into a clearing. The details were unmistakable. Broad shoulders, powerful build, and arms so long they reached nearly to its knees. A trademark feature of Bigfoot, and one that no typical costume could replicate. Anderson managed to snap several shots before the creature turned and lumbered back into the woods. Over the following weeks, he tried to share his evidence with locals, but no one showed interest. The photos were left to collect dust, largely forgotten. Many researchers now suggest these images may be the clearest glimpse we've had of the very same creature caught in the Patterson-Gimlin film. I find this pretty compelling. What do you think? Are we looking at the real continuation of Bigfoot's story? In the world of cryptids, few states have a Bigfoot community as passionate as Utah. For decades, at the heart of that community was researcher Daryl Smith, better known to many as Daryl Bigfoot Smith. One of his creations, a striking Bigfoot costume with uncanny proportions and detail, still circulates online today, often mistaken for genuine footage. The suit is so convincing that even veteran researchers have been fooled by it, including me at first, which sent me digging into its origins. Here's the story. The costume was built to promote Utah's annual Bigfoot conference. Smith himself wore it for demonstrations and educational events, and a surviving newspaper clipping shows just how impressive the craftsmanship was, especially for its time. But here's where things get interesting. Smith wasn't just a showman. He was a serious investigator who dedicated his life to the search for Bigfoot until his passing in 2012. That unique combination as both costume maker and respected researcher blurred the lines for some between theatrical promotion and genuine investigation. Still, Smith's commitment to the subject was undeniable, and maybe that's the paradox. Sometimes the most convincing evidence doesn't come from hoaxers, but from true believers who want to see the legend brought to life. I try to keep my commentary light and let the clips speak for themselves, but every so often I come across something that demands a little honesty. Take this one. A man claims he spotted a tiger in his backyard. A tiger. Now, unless you've lived under a rock, you probably know what tigers look like. Giant cats with stripes. Somehow this guy skipped that lesson because what he actually filmed was nothing more than a very ordinary house cat. No danger. No tiger. Just a pet on a stroll. After a night out, 4 friends were driving back to their Airbnb when one of them mentioned seeing something near the cemetery. The others said they had not noticed a thing. Later, when they checked the dashcam, it told a different story. The video shows a mist-like silhouette skirt the edge of the cemetery, moving in a way that feels deliberate. The girls say only one of them actually saw it in real time, but all of them reported a sudden cold chill as they passed. Whether it was a trick of headlights or something else, it unsettled them enough that the night lost its fun. I do not blame them for not sleeping well after that. In rural Kentucky, a railroad bridge over Popelet Creek has carried a dark reputation for decades. Locals whisper about a creature said to haunt the spot, a half-human, half-beast hybrid with the power to hypnotize its victims. Unlike other cryptids, this one doesn't just attack. Witnesses claim it lures people onto the tracks, straight into the path of speeding trains. Descriptions vary. Some say it's goat-like with unsettling human features. Others describe it as more demonic. But what sets this legend apart is the idea of hypnotic influence. A creature capable of overriding basic human survival instincts. The chilling truth is that the Popelet monster claims lives whether it exists or not. In 2013, a couple trespassed onto the bridge, hoping to recreate a scene from a film about the legend. A train barreled through, killing the woman and leaving her husband injured. The monster never appeared, yet the myth itself had taken another life. This raises disturbing questions about folklore. Is the real danger the creature or our own fascination with the forbidden? The railroad company has put up fences and warning signs, but thrill seekers and skeptics still venture out, willing to gamble with their lives. Sometimes the deadliest monsters are not the ones we see, but the ones that make us forget the dangers right in front of us. The footage might be blurry, but the scene is unforgettable. It shows a towering figure walking up to a tree, gripping it and shaking it with raw force. At first glance, you might dismiss it as someone in a costume, but then you notice the proportions, the unusually long arms, the bulk of the body, and the effortless strength on display. That tree isn't swaying from a light tug. It's being rattled with serious power. If this is just a man in a suit, he's pulling off an act that's hard to explain. So what do you think? Clever hoax or a rare glimpse of strength only a true Bigfoot could show? This photograph, originally shared on the Ghosts of London Facebook page by an anonymous source, has stirred up a storm of debate. Taken during a holiday trip to New York City, it looks like a perfectly normal picture inside a hostel room, until you notice what's clinging to the man in the frame. On closer inspection, a transparent figure seems to be wrapping its arms around him. The uploader, who actually describes themselves as a skeptic, admitted the image unsettled them. That skepticism only adds weight to the mystery. Reactions have split into two camps. Some say the ghostly arms look hostile, almost like a spectral chokehold. Others see it as something gentler, maybe an embrace, even an attempt at comfort from beyond. Personally, I lean toward aggressive. If something see-through is grabbing you, it's probably not trying to tuck you in. So what are we looking at here? An eerie case of pareidolia, the brain making shapes out of light and shadow, or a genuine apparition caught in a moment of contact? Whatever the truth, the photo forces us to ask, if it is a spirit, what's the intention? To protect, to intimidate, or to harm? You be the judge. In July 1979, the quiet countryside around Brassknocker Hill, just outside Bath in Somerset, became the setting for one of England's strangest cryptid cases. It began when Ron and Betty Harper discovered their old oak tree had been stripped bare, every bit of bark torn off. Within days, by August 1st, more than 50 trees in the area had been damaged, some with branches snapped as high as 50 feet. Experts noted that the teeth marks were enormous, at least 20 times larger than a squirrel's. Then came something even more unsettling. The forest went silent. Wildlife fled, leaving behind an eerie stillness. That's when the sightings started. Christopher Morris reported seeing a 4-foot-long, bear-like creature with white rings around its eyes while driving through Moncton Combe. Other witnesses described it as something between a baboon, chimpanzee, gibbon, and lemur. The story spread quickly, hitting international headlines. The RSPCA issued warnings about a dangerous animal on the loose. Locals armed themselves, with one 81-year-old man even patrolling at night with a shotgun. Even police weren't immune. Inspector Michael Price claimed he saw what looked like a feral chimpanzee. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it ended. The destruction stopped. Wildlife returned, and the woods sounded normal again. So what exactly was the beast of Brassknocker Hill? No one ever figured it out. Cardiff, South Wales is steeped in centuries of history and folklore, making it one of the UK's hotspots for paranormal activity. With its Roman roots, ancient architecture, and storied landmarks, it's no surprise that ghost tales are woven deep into the city's identity. Cardiff Castle, for example, has long been linked to chilling legends. Visitors have reported seeing the ghost of the second Marquess of Bute haunting the clock tower, while others speak of a phantom coach drawn by headless horses. At Llandaff Cathedral, the stories continue. Witnesses have described shadowy, monk-like figures moving silently among the pews and sudden, unexplained drops in temperature. It was in this very cathedral's graveyard that Reddit user RideUnited1305 had an unforgettable experience in April 2016. While investigating, they captured a photograph that sparked widespread intrigue. The image appears to show a ghostly figure near a large cross, draped in what looks like a dark hooded robe or long dress. The presence is unmistakably eerie. At first, the uploader thought it might just be a gravestone tricking the eye, but after multiple attempts to recreate the shot under the same conditions, the figure never reappeared. That mystery only adds to Cardiff's already rich tapestry of paranormal lore. So what's in the photograph? A shadow? A trick of the light? Or the restless spirit of a monk wandering the cathedral grounds? In a city where history and the supernatural collide, perhaps some questions will never be answered.